Well, you made this. History. Wife and I married 12 years. Me 44, her 37. This goes back about 2 years now. Rumors started about wife and her coworker from a company party that I did not attend. Red flag 1. We never fully addressed them. Last summer she started wearing different clothes to work. Dirty clothes. Tanning. Red flag 2. Got on her about it and she quit wearing them. Same summer I went to move her cell phone off some papers and she freaked out and grabbed phone. Red flag 3. This past fall she started emotionally detaching from me. Red flag 4. And then the physical life started to dwindle to nothing. Red flag 5. I started into super paranoid investigator mode. Asked her several times over this past summer what's up. Why are we drifting apart? Is there someone else? Got a no to that and it's just a phase we're going through and she's just not happy, doesn't know who she is or what she wants in life. Red flag 6. This past September, coming from outside and she's on computer and sees me and closes the laptop really quick. Deer in the headlights look. Red flag 7. Later that day I ask her, were you emailing some guy, and she says no, just wired out from too much coffee. So, I install Keylogger 2 weeks later and boom, there it is. Email to coworker saying she will be coming in late. The reason why I had to drop her dad off somewhere first and at the end saying, miss you and can't wait to see you, and his reply back was don't worry about it. It's okay, your dad's what's important. Yeah, I know, with all of the red flags she should have looked like a damn porcupine. The night before confrontation day, I tell her I got a call about her and her coworker. That something is up, and also ask was she emailing him and would she mind if I looked through her emails. She replied that yes, she did email him about something few weeks ago and I could look at her emails, but it would be like I was controlling and she had nothing to hide. The next morning, she still didn't know I had the emails already. She goes in and deletes them all and sets up her account so deleted emails cannot be reviewed. So, on confrontation day, I confront, all tough and crap at the beginning and then fall apart like a little girl. Crying, begging, the whole 9 yards. Fail 1. I look back now. Like, who the hell was that guy? She swears it was just an emotional affair and not a very strong one. Just close friends and we agree to work through it. She will only have work contact. No in the room alone. Yeah, okay. I did not demand she quit her job and go no contact. Fail 2. Did not get all the details. Disclosure. Fail 3. Did not contact OMW. Let her tell me out of it because it would hurt his wife. Fail 4. Make her own her crap. Fail 5. Took a lot of the blame for my past crap and blamed myself for the affair. Fail 6. So, we have bad days and good days over the last 3 months. Tried MC. Was a joke. I'm an IC. Good for me. Read everything under the sun. Man up. No nice guy. 180. All kinds of posts in here, all good for me. Taught me to be a better me for me. Started working out. Great stress reliever. Getting buffed. Lol. Talked her into IC as well. Started to man up and she's noticed, or so I thought. Last night out, got something to eat, had a few beers, and the guy who originally called me about the rumors 2 years ago is there. His wife and mine work at the same place. We start talking and he tells me that piece of crap is getting divorced or is divorced. I ask when this happened, and he says this past summer. I play it off real cool and leave after a bit. Get home and the wife says what's wrong, and I say, when were you going to tell me that piece of crap OM got divorced? Her reply was, he's not divorced, they're separated. I was like, really? I wonder why. Pack your crap and get out of my house. I wasn't mad, voice was not raised, I was as cool as a cucumber. No emotion at all. Then she said, you can't make me leave, this is my house too. So I start laughing a little bit because it was actually funny and say, really, just leave, I'm done, because if you want to stay here that's fine, but there's no way in hell I'm leaving, and I walk in the bedroom. She follows me and says he did not leave his wife because of me. We're not, and we're not having an affair. Then I say, oh really? I should believe you because you've been so truthful with me all along. I should just take it on faith. Sorry, but no. And I can understand the whys it happened, etc. But the part that you lied to me over and over before Discovery Day, it ruined me. That anything you say now I can't believe. You should have seen how far her jaw dropped. I could have driven my truck into it. So she continues to tell me that OMW has a boyfriend. And I say, really? Let me guess, a coworker. Another jaw dropper. She said she was stupid for not telling me and was afraid that I would take it wrong. Do you think? And then I say, what about the rumors from 2 years ago? You knew about them before I did. You should have told me first, before I heard 2 months later from a buddy. You should have told me about their separation also. I told her now I understand, while all 3 times I asked you about me talking with the OMW. Yeah, another fail, talking to her about contacting OMW. You told me each and every time. Why would you want to hurt someone else just because you're in pain and you're not mean and vindictive like that? And why would she care if her husband is seeing someone else? She has a boyfriend, why would she care? Another jaw dropper. Talked to her about my past crap and I owned it, and it's part of the reason why we are where we're at. but that I will not take accountability for her lies, deceit, and her emotional affair. I did not make her do those things, and she's got on her crap too. The whole thing was surreal. It was almost like I was standing there watching myself. Again, I was so amazed that I wasn't showing any emotion to any of it, just talking cool and collective thoughts. I was and am so proud of myself. So, we wound up bond together, and then we went to sleep. So, this morning we talk some more and I tell her that I'm not sure if I even want to try anymore. Let's just smile through the holidays. Kid is coming home for the holidays. And also asked her why I should stay. What are you willing to do to keep me? Do you even think you deserve me? And to think on that for a bit. Bottom line, do not do some of the things I've done. Talk to OMW and OWHASAP. All of the reasons they tell why in here are good ones. I will be doing so after the holidays. They have a kid and don't want to take chance on running a kid's Christmas. Man up, don't beg, cry, whine, be clingy, act like a man. You can and will get through it. If you can, you really don't need them. I think my wife finally gets it. She could tell that I will not put up with any more crying and any bull crap, and she knows I'm ready to walk and have a good life either with her or without her. It's her choice now. She has to do the heavy lifting going forward. I am in the driver's seat of my life now, and what a ride it's going to be. I can honestly say I can talk the talk and walk the walk. Took 3 months, but damn it, I'm there. Like I said, after the holidays, I will not take a chance on ruining a kid's Christmas. Maybe the OMW has BF, maybe they're separated right now. I won't be surprised either way. Just don't care about that info right now. I would rather lose my wife for good than ruin a child's Christmas. No way I can do that. This is not about me. If the wife is lying and they are still together and I call now and turn her life upside down, do you really think they could hold it together for their kid over Christmas? An 11-year-old, and put on a happy face. Not worth the chance for me. Yeah, I know the wife and OM can come up with stories for her in case I call. Whatever. If so, sooner or later it will come out. It always does sooner or later. I'm unprepared for anything right now and am cool with it all, honestly. Of course, I love her, but I love me more. Update: the other night when we had the talk and she followed me into the bedroom, I left out that she was crying like a little kid. Didn't even dawn on me that I left that out until last night. Shaking, shuddering. I could see her pain and her remorse for the pain that was caused, saying how sorry she was for hurting me. She still denied that there was anything more going on and it wasn't what I thought. I said that you just don't say to a male friend, "Miss, you can't wait to see you," although I could see her pain and understand it. I had nothing, no feelings whatsoever. No anger. No hurt. No glad or sad that she was hurting. I had no empathy. None, just a calmness about me. Detached is the best way I could describe it. She came home last night after work and I was laying down trying to nap. Was a long night before. And asked if she could lay next to me and hug me. She started crying, saying how sad she was and was afraid to even come home. I let her lay her head on my shoulders and told her I didn't want her to be afraid of coming home. Yet again the same feeling of detachment. I laid there for a long time trying to understand what these new feelings, or lack of, mean. I realized that after the other night, I can no longer be hurt by any of it. Not what's happened, or even if there is more to the story that I still don't know about. None of it can hurt me any longer. It just doesn't matter. It's not wall that I put up, but rather something's taken over. All of my feelings, emotions. A gentle calmness that won't let any of my emotions, feelings take over. It calms them, it's in control. I can feel the hurt, pain, anger trying to rise up, and the calmness takes over. I can feel the love. Empathy, understanding also trying to rise up, and once again the calmness takes over and says, I'm in charge now and things are going to be okay. So as I lay thinking, my heart and mind went to a place I used to go as a kid when I was having a rough time. Back in the woods, laying in the tall grass, feeling a soft wind as it blows across the tall grass. I'm laying back looking up into the clouds and knowing that everything is right in the world and feeling that same calmness. And I think about all of this, how in the beginning I opened up the door to my heart right away and reached out to her and tried to pull her in. Which didn't work. Then I slammed the door shut and put a lock on it, which also didn't work. Now the door is closed. I can neither open it up or try to keep it locked. I can feel her at the door. I'm hoping that she can find her way in and come lay with me in the tall grass. I won't lay there forever waiting. Life goes on. But I know now I can always take myself back to that grassy field. If any one of you that are the WS are reading this, don't let your partner get to where I am at. You may lose them forever. I don't continue to investigate on my wife. The part about the other man being separated came up in general conversation with my buddy regarding the place where my and his wife work. Nothing more. I own my crap from the past. I was a jerk, not always, but some pretty crappy things. I owned up to them. I missed the signals she was putting out, but bottom line, she should have set me down and had a talk first. I had emotional affair myself a long time ago, and she and I discussed it and how wrong it was. I didn't even know I had one until it was over or what one was. But I did bring it up to her, and how devastating it was. I did not embarrass her in front of her coworkers. They did it themselves. The OM is married also. The rumors were flying around her place of work long before I caught on. In the past, my wife will make plans without discussing them with me first, mainly about getting together with her family for a dinner, or holidays plans, etc. Nothing big, just an afternoon or evening now and then. I made several comments that I would appreciate it if she would talk with me first. Respectful thing to do. So even after this talk, she still does on occasion and says something along the lines of, "Hey, Dad wanted us to come down Sunday afternoon for lunch. If you don't want to, it's okay," but I'm still going, and I wind up going. Sometimes changing my plans to do whatever. Work in the yard. I should note that I did the same as her until she told me that she would appreciate me talking with her first regarding plans, which I have been doing for a while and have not backslid. So, for this weekend, she has made plans for us to go to her parents for Easter dinner without us even discussing it. We have no other plans in place for Easter. I am crazy for being upset by this. Not pissed, just upset. I know what she will say. It's okay if I don't want to go. She will go by herself. Second story. My husband and I have been married for 17 years and we have an 8-year-old daughter. I gave up my job as a teacher when I got pregnant and was a stay-at-home mom for 5 years after she was born. I became depressed when she was a year and a half old, but was experiencing various physical symptoms at the same time and didn't understand what was wrong with me. Early morning waking, constant fatigue, very heavy periods, etc. It was terrifying, and the doctors couldn't do anything to help me apart from offer antidepressants. Hormone tests, blood tests were all normal. I spent the next several years pursuing physical causes. I looked into seasonal affective disorder, mercury poisoning from fillings, which I had removed, healthy eating and vitamins and supplements, adrenal fatigue, hypothyroidism, and all sorts of other things I can't remember at the moment. I never gave up trying to get well, but this was going on for years. The diet, vitamins route seems to have helped a little, but not hugely. Eventually I got to a point where I was getting by okay, though I wasn't 100% by any means. I was struggling to find part-time work and decided I would train as a psychodynamic therapist in order to help other people who had experienced depression like I had. It's helped me in a way that years of individual therapy might not have, and I learned a great deal about myself. 2 years down, 3 to go. I believe the root of the depression is low self-esteem, coupled with being stuck at home most of the time with no adult contact, and financial worries. I've been wanting to work part-time for the past 4 years and haven't found anything permanent. And it's been 2 years since I've worked at all. I was able to do some volunteer work before the summer holidays and started getting out to exercise by walking. I've had to give both of those things up this summer while I stay at home with my daughter. My husband has been very supportive throughout. I lost my libido and endured some long-lasting physical problems because of different medications I'd taken for the depression. And I'd always had issues with a good time in the past anyway, struggling to be able to trust and let go. So our bedroom life ended. He told me a few times that this was difficult for him and that he felt like his only function in life was to pay the bills. But I didn't know how to respond. I knew our relationship was in trouble, but I thought I'd get myself well first. Then I'd be able to deal with that. Last May, my husband finally told me in all honesty that he had been coping for 8 years. The bonding had been a problem for longer, and he didn't know how much more he could take. That was hard to hear, but at the same time I appreciated it as a very serious wake-up call. I had 2 years of training in therapy and decided that if I didn't put it into practice then, it would be too late. I discovered that I could enjoy a good time for the first time in my life, and I was learning to feel and accept my own feelings without fear. I'd had abusive parents, and there have been issues for me to work on from that. I have a problem with compulsive overeating, which had been very bad the past year due to stress and worry. But from that day I resolved to eat healthily and get my body into a state where it could be attractive again to my husband. He has been losing weight himself, and I know it's important to him that I try too. Unforeseen by both of us, though, my husband had a lot of intense buried feelings from all those years where we'd lost intimacy. He became very angry and resentful about the time he feels he lost. He doesn't have many friends, isn't particularly close to his family, hates his job intensely but feels trapped in it. This has been a problem through the whole of our marriage, and I think he relied a lot on me to help him feel good, to give him good times. I've tried to put myself in his shoes, and I think I can understand where he's coming from. And I feel awful about it. He loved me and wanted to be a husband to me, and, though he recognizes that I was ill, he feels like he was rejected and unwanted all that time. I think he's experiencing a midlife crisis as well, which I believe is what influenced him to have the initial talk with me last May. He says he's angry at himself for not having left me years ago. Wishes he'd had slept with other women. He's angry that money has been a problem for years, continues to be, and will be while I finish my training. He's resentful that I trained to be a teacher at the start of our marriage. Now I'm training to do something else. And all this time he's been doing a job he hates. There were opportunities in the past for him to retrain or change jobs, but he always had an excuse for why he couldn't. I've tried to use all the skills I've learned in therapy training, but mainly that's consisted of me trying to contain this and stay calm, not panic. And try to handle this in an adult way even though we're both in awful emotional pain. I've told him that he needs to seriously think about whether he wants a life without me and our daughter. He knows that a divorce would force me to stop my training and try to get a full-time teaching job, and that I would move out without daughter. He has had little part in bringing her up. Yet he's unsure of his feelings about me. He said love is there, but it's not the love he should feel as a husband, and he's majorly pissed off at me too. Bonding has become difficult again because of this. And it's hard for me to enjoy it when I know he's so angry at me and I'm not sure whether he loves me or just wants me the hell out. He doesn't know himself. This has been going on for 4 months. He's depressed all the time, can't concentrate on anything much. He sits in a chair across from me and sighs and cries. He refuses point blank to see a counselor or accept any kind of help, which he insists is a waste of money. I'm stressed almost all the time while he's at home because he's so low and angry. Going out with his friends helps a bit for a while, but it never lasts, and it appears to just be a temporary distraction. He has said many times that he wants to vanish or die, that he can't take anymore. I was terrified at first that he wanted to kill himself, but I don't think he would do that. It's more like he just wants to escape and keeps wishing he could walk away from all his problems. I know he blames me for making him feel rejected, and for us not having much money. And that guilt is making it hard for me because I don't know if he'll ever find it in his heart to forgive me. Day after day goes on like this. I look after our daughter, play with her, take her out, try to have a normal life. I try to conceal the effects of the constant emotional turmoil. And sometimes I feel like I have to hide her from Daddy's depressive moods, which she would not understand. I often say, Daddy's in a bad mood, I think we'll have to do this ourselves. He says no one loves him and he's a worthless person. It is like a knife through my heart because I know it isn't true. I tell him so, but he listens to little or nothing that I say. I honestly don't know what to do. I am planning positive steps to overcome my own depression, which at the moment is nothing like as bad as his. But every day is very hard and I feel like crying all the time. I love my husband, but I don't know what I can do to help him, and knowing how he feels about me hurts so much. If I had loads of money, I still don't think I'd want to divorce him. Don't know if he'd feel the same way. I've been hoping that this will get better, given time, but the pain is just awful. MC was one of the first things I suggested, specifically with Relate. The argument I kept running up against was that we can't afford it. We put aside a chunk of money for university for our daughter in better days and are having to face the fact that we will have to start dipping into it ourselves in emergencies. I consider this to be a worthy cause to use some of the money on, but he insists we should not. I've asked him several times what's more important, extra money for our daughter's education or the fact that she actually has a father. It just makes him angry. It's like talking to a brick wall. We've had to use some of the money recently to have a new fence built in the garden to replace an old rotting one. That seems to be okay to spend it on, but not counseling. He's absolutely determined to work through this himself without help, and it's been colossally frustrating. I've lost count of how many conversations have involved him saying he can't go on anymore. Me begging him to get help, get counseling. And him blowing up at me. Maybe the fact that I'm in counselor training myself is making him think that I'm only insisting on this option because it's my thing. He also says that repeating the whole story to someone else and getting upset again is not something he wants to do. It's hard to know how best to cope. I feel very strongly that counseling could help him. He did see a counselor about 13 years ago to work through his feelings about the death of his mom when he was 6, and he doesn't think it can help him anymore now. He's got low self-esteem and has felt rejected by many people throughout his life, including his family. And what happened with me inadvertently seems to have rubbed salt into the wound, which just isn't healing. It's been a bit better lately because he's kept busy. And every now and then he decides he wants a cuddle with me. But he says he feels awful all the time underneath and he has nightmares and can't sleep properly. I'm still fighting my own demons too. I've been at home with my daughter all during the summer holidays, even though I'm pretty sure the root of the depression I've had for years is that I've been isolated at home, lacking a sense of accomplishment and basically a life for myself. I tried hard to be a stay-at-home mom devoted to my child, but I learned the hard way. And it took me years. That I won't be happy unless I go out to work at least part of the week. I'm trying to find a job, but in the meantime, I've just spent 7 weeks having to give up volunteering and exercising because I am caring for a young child 24/7 with no help available from friends or family. I'm waiting for my counseling course to start again this October. It's been a frustrating 6-month hiatus. I've gone back to eating lots of sugar every day because it kind of drains me into a stupor and kicks my endorphins in so that I don't feel so much like crying all day. But that is a problem in itself for all sorts of reasons, not the least because my husband has lost a lot of weight and is looking good, has an issue with my own weight. And I made a heartfelt promise that I'd do something about it. I've promised myself that I will again now that school is starting up for the autumn and I will have time to myself to exercise. I also find myself starting to want to stay away from my husband and avoid bonding. The same as all those years before. Because I fear I'm not attractive enough to him. And I'm not sure what his feelings are toward me. I'd only just learned how to trust him enough to relax and enjoy the experience, but it's hard not to want to clam up again after all the hurt he is now causing me. I'm afraid this is going to turn into a carousel of misery unless we can find a way forward soon. 1 year later, to make my history as short as possible, I moved from the USA to the UK to marry my husband, whom I dated on a previous trip here. We were together 8 years before we had our one child, who is now almost 10. Things went downhill from there because I didn't work on the intimacy of my marriage while I was looking after my baby. And then I developed depression because I was isolated at home, without a job or income of my own, etc. I didn't realize this at the time. It took me a long time to understand what was happening to me. My husband endured this time period, and it has been taking me a long time to try to put my life right. I am just starting to find pieces of temp work, and I have been through counseling. The problem is that my husband is bitter about the time when I was ill and when we lost intimacy. I think he's not sure whether he can find it in himself to trust me again. And he keeps saying so many things are wrong. I get lists from him of everything I need to put right, from getting the house clean to losing weight. I can't pretend that these requests have no basis. Because while depressed, I've struggled with the housework, particularly with a messy little girl contributing to it, and I have an eating problem which I have so far not been able to successfully address in the long term. I am quite severely overweight. My husband says he feels bad about telling me, but he very much needs me to slim down. He needs me to be more attractive. I thought we were at a point a number of times where we agreed that I would lose weight, get the house clean, work on securing a permanent job, etc. I said we should get a babysitter so that we can go out in the evenings, because an ongoing problem for us has been that we have no friends or family to help look after our daughter so that we can get time to ourselves. I also have faced the real possibility of separation, where the best option for me would be to go with my daughter to live with my parents in the USA and get back on my feet. My parents aren't the easiest people to get along with, nor the best role models for my daughter. But at least I would get some support. I know that my husband is distraught about the possibility of me taking his daughter away, but I have explained that I can't see how I can make a life for myself in this country where I would have no job, no place to live after we sold the house. Not even any close friends. No family at all. I just wish we could make a decision and stick to it. But my husband has so far been unable to do this, and I'm not going to force the issue by making it for both of us. He is going to pieces before my eyes. It's like he's slowly having a breakdown. He can't concentrate on anything and is afraid of losing his job because of this. He cancels outings with his friends because he's feeling so down. He can't sleep at night. And sometimes he just sits down in a chair in front of me and cries. It's extremely hard for both of us to cope with. He won't see a counselor together or by himself. He drinks wine to numb himself. I never know what to expect from him. Both of us are in incredible pain, and his only solution seems to be to vacillate while watching his life fall apart. My husband doesn't want me and our daughter to go live with my parents, and frankly, the more I think about it, the more I realize that it could amount to going out of the frying pan and into the fire. My mother has a personality disorder and my father has issues too. However, I don't know how I could make a life for myself in this country. With what this government is doing to people on benefits, that is not a situation I want to find myself in. I thought my husband and I agreed to look into late marriage counseling last night, but he is now so distraught about everything that he is struggling to get any sleep or even function. He has a tendency to bury his head in the sand about things until the situation becomes so dire that it is impossible to ignore. I don't know how much Relate could help at this point, even if we were fortunate enough to get an experienced and talented counselor. But it's perhaps better than carrying on as we are. Oh gosh, okay, I'll try to make my post shorter. It's a complicated situation, so it's hard to try to put it in few words. But I understand that people might tend to skip over long posts. I have been trying to get a permanent job for 6 years, since my daughter started going to full-time school. I am a secondary English teacher and tried at first to get part-time work because doing the job full-time burned me out. And that was before I had a child at home. The best I could manage was a series of temp contracts at a local school. They didn't want a permanent part-timer and other schools don't either. I then went into day-to-day supply teaching as a stopgap. But then that disappeared as schools started to take on unqualified teachers at half the price. As time went on and I was increasingly desperate, I ended up trying for pretty much any type of job in school or out, but got few interviews. I guess because all I was trained to do was teach. There was a recession on, and I'd already been out of permanent work so long. I had depression as well, probably caused from the very circumstances I was trying to change, like being stuck at home, isolated. No identity or sense of purpose. No personal income, constantly worrying about money. I wasn't sure if I'd be able to work full-time with my physical symptoms, and I had also decided to retrain in another career, which required that I spend one full day a week at university. I could not find jobs to apply for that would allow this in my schedule. I had numerous contacts at local schools and I asked for their help, but there was nothing forthcoming. I set up my own internet business proofreading academic papers, but the competition is fierce and it isn't much of an income. I also enter a lot of online competitions and have won some nice perks that we otherwise wouldn't have been able to afford. Though again, it's not enough to make a significant difference. It's just better than nothing while I'm not working. I think you are right in that financial stress can cause big problems in a relationship. My husband has this midlife thing going on as well, and he wants to go out and have more fun and travel, but these things require money. I recently jacked in my university course just to be available to work all days in the week, and I've been office temping for the past couple of months off and on, which isn't much, but it's a start. I'm hoping I'll have a permanent job which will allow me the day off I need to get back on my course next autumn. But it's quite possible that I will have to prioritize working and give up that particular dream. My physical symptoms start to disappear when I've been at work for a period, but so far through no fault of my own the temp jobs have been of short duration. I have a few interviews coming up this month. UK benefits, nightmare. Our government has been busy ripping away the safety net. They might well be more generous than those in the US, but frankly that's not saying much. And now there's workfare, so I could find myself working for free stacking shelves while I am also expected to be looking for work. I read about horrible changes to the benefits system every single day in the papers here, and it makes my blood boil seeing that happen to people and fearing it could happen to me. The option of moving back to the US would mean that my daughter and I lived with my parents, at least for a time. Though I'm increasingly thinking that it would be a bad idea for the various reasons I stated above. I think maybe my husband is getting cold feet about the marriage counseling now. We both are exhausted from the disagreements, I think, and are in an uneasy truce at the moment. It is constantly stressful. This is really hard. I don't know what to do. My husband talked with me again last night. He's still barely functioning. I thought I'd just about persuaded him to try seeing a counselor on his own, and then he heaped all the blame on me again. I know that I've messed up, but he also can't seem to understand what it's been like for me to struggle for years with depression due to isolation, unemployment, and a compulsive overeating problem that has been at its worst while I've been at my lowest. Unfortunately, I have gained a lot of weight, which he has a big problem with. I know it's been hard for him to put up with all that and its consequences, and I wouldn't expect anyone to tolerate it past what they are able to do. I've never stopped trying to address these issues, but time keeps going by. I have recently started office temping work as a stepping stone to getting a job, but it always seems to be too little, too late. Apparently, my husband has been wishing he could leave for years. He packed a bag a couple of times and said he was going, but I thought he just wanted to get out of the house for a while because he was angry. He developed feelings for another woman which she did not reciprocate. This again was a few years back. He also told me he has sometimes browsed web pages for people looking for relationships, though he claims he didn't have any intention of actually doing anything. He's listed my faults for me numerous times and asks me why it's taking me so long to sort them out. I can't honestly understand why he's made himself stay all these years. I've told him many times that I cannot be a ball and chain that he feels he has to live with even if he doesn't want to. I think he's very upset about the idea of me going to the USA with our daughter. And the fact that his mother died when he was young makes him not want to put his own child through that. I think I understand everything he's saying, but he's putting us all in an impossible situation. He can't bear the thought of waiting again for me to put everything right when it might not happen like it didn't happen in the past. And there is a part of me that's saying, hey, I bear a lot of responsibility here, but he isn't actually taking any for himself. I think he sees himself as a hard-done-by martyr who wants to do what is right for his child. But we can't stay together with things as they are now because it's awful for everybody. He's so angry and fed up with me. I almost wish he'd just say enough is enough so that we can move on. If I told him myself that I was leaving, he'd be furious about all the years he waited and hoped that things would change. He really is just plain angry as it is. My husband would have left by now if it hadn't been for our daughter. I do hope we can sort this, but I don't know how. Your advice is sensible, though I think the general situation calls for bigger, deeper action. My husband is at the end of his tether. Won't try to get any help. Seems to think that he simply has to keep trying to muddle through even though he's in such a state that he could end up being sacked from his job, or I'm afraid he might do something foolish. And I don't know how I'll be able to make the changes I need to make myself when he's making it doubly difficult for me to pull out of being depressed. It's exasperating that he won't see a counselor. I was actually training to be one myself, and I have tried to explain to him how it could help, but he always just returns to the same old arguments. It can't help. They can't change anything for me. It would be a waste of money. Arg. Yesterday seemed to start out well. He had the day off and our daughter was at school. We spent some intimate time together in the morning and generally had what I thought was a restful day at home. When we went to bed at night, he lay there next to me sobbing, wouldn't let me touch him, kept saying I can't live like this, and then went downstairs to spend the night on the sofa. When I came down this morning, he got up and went to bed. I have said that I accept a lot of responsibility for what is happening because I have made some bad choices in my life that led to depression and marital problems. Though I had no idea at the time that those would be the consequences. But my husband is not handling the situation well, and he is putting himself and everyone else through a lot of suffering that just goes on and on as he vacillates and despairs about how stuck he is. I am so emotionally exhausted. I think I've read the situation wrong for years because it felt to me like we made up in some way after each spat. But I can see now that my husband simply acted for a while like nothing was wrong even though the problem was still there. Yesterday is a good example of that in a short time frame. I should have realized a long time ago how serious things were regarding both my unemployment and the state of my marriage. And I should have done more. And sooner. Months later, he is unable to forgive me for the years when my depression was at its worst and we lost our intimacy. He blames me for this entirely, and there is constant anger in him, even if he doesn't always show it. He can't see that he had any part to play in how events unfolded other than that he was a suffering victim. He thinks at least some of the problems I have due to depression are in fact attacks on him, like not taking more care with my appearance, struggling to lose weight, or to find motivation to clean the house to his standards. My explanations apparently don't convince. Having done some counselor training, I suggested that the intense and prolonged anger he feels, plus the need to blame, and by implication, accept zero responsibility for anything himself, might have deeper roots in his life than our relationship, and that it might help to explore this with a counselor. But he won't even accept that this may be the case, even when he's in the middle of blaming me for everything again and I point out what he's doing. Also, drawing on my counselor training, I suspect that he might be struggling to let me go due to an ambivalent attachment style, which causes him to cling when there is a real fear of the object of attachment leaving. This isn't the same as love, and I've suggested he might be afraid of being alone, but he doesn't accept that. We can't get past him believing that everything is my fault and that somehow I have to be punished for an indefinite period of time. The fact that people make mistakes, and I didn't know any better at the time, is immaterial. There's no way he would think that he might have done things differently himself. He refuses to try to explore any deeper issues by finding help, because I'm the one with the problem, not him, and it's up to me to fix it. I am really feeling exasperated. It took a while for it to dawn on me that this is how he always feels, and I've allowed myself to be confused, fooled a number of times by the way he stuffs it all down and pretends for stretches of time that nothing is wrong. I fear that this is what he wants to keep trying to do, even though we both suffer every day. He can't sleep. I always feel like I'm walking on eggshells around him. I am now struggling to participate in the pretense that there's nothing wrong because it doesn't get us anywhere, and I know he's only doing it because he can't think what else to do, not because he's actually feeling better about things. I don't know what to do myself. My own attachment style is avoidant, which means I want to withdraw, run away. This was one major cause of the problem in the first place, though I've done a lot of work on it since. If I went with my daughter to live with my parents, I'd just be going from one dysfunctional situation to another, which is a problem, but that one looks increasingly more appealing than this one. I'm getting angry myself, and the situation is difficult to tolerate. It's been at its most intense for 2 years. My comment: you guys like these 2 stories? Sub and